Okay, perfect. Welcome everybody. As you see, here's our lunch. So that's the working lunch boxes, and there will be for everybody. You can just take them. My name is Mads Chris Fredriksen. I'm the Executive Director of the Arctic Economic Council, and I will guide you through this Greenland Day. That is a tradition that we've done for many, many years. We all know the Arctic region is a hot topic right now, high north, low tension. And the Arctic region is unique because it got three things that the world needs. It got food to feed the world. So as you see, Greenland, one of the companies providing food to the rest of the world. It got a lot of energy, oil and gas, hydropower, wind energy, and so on. And then it got raw materials. And that's what we will be talking about today, the raw materials, the minerals. That's what the world needs, and we got a lot of it in Greenland. We will be opening up with a speech from the Minister of Minerals and Justice. So he will be speaking first, and then afterwards he will be followed by Christian Kelsen from the Greenlandic Business Association. So please, to the Minister, if you come up here. The speech will be in Greenlandic, but it will be translated into English for those of you that don't understand Greenlandic. So welcome the Minister.
Thank you.
Siullormik atuartorsuuna ajaraluarama oqaasaqaraangama kisiannutterisut atortussaat amigaataalaramik taamam toqqaannutteriseqartariaqarluni una taamat atualaaginnassawara.
I usually don't read manuscripts too much, but since this situation requires a consecutive translation rather than simultaneous, I'll read from the manuscript.
Tasiullormik tamassi Greenland taimut tikilluaritsi.
Welcome everyone to Greenland Day.
Periarfisman iluatsillu naalakkersuusooqatigiinutaat aatitassarsiornerm tungatilluusuliniitaas pingaarnersaat ilissinnut ilisaritikkusuppakka aatitassarsiorniarlini imminut pisussaafiliinermut tungatilluu akitsuutit nalimmassarneqarneri diamanteqarnissaata ilimanaateqarneralun nalunaarusiaq aama CO2 katersorneqarlin toqqortarineqarnissaanut periarfissiissut taakkulupilliit atorfilittat ullingerlanerani tamassinnut saqqimmiinissaa oqaatigeriginnarsinnaava.
I would like to use this opportunity to highlight some of the initiatives that the new government has put into place relevant to the mineral resources industry, adjustment of the exploration commitment fee, the launch of a new diamond potential report, and a carbon capture and storage strategy in the making. Government officials will tell you more about this later today.
Naalakkersuusu suliniutaa allatassaawoq uuraanimut misissuusinnaanermut uyaasisinnaanermut piiyaasinnaanermut inerteqquteqalernissaq ingerlateqqitsitsinanga ersarissassawaa tamanna isimaqangiimmat naalakkersuusut aatitassarsiornerma akerliusut paarlattuanik kalaal nunaal aatitassarsiortoqarnissaa qalluisoqarnissaa aamalu aningaasarsiornik uluaqatiginissaa naalakkersuusut tikilluaqqusaraat.
Another government initiative was a ban on uranium prospecting, exploration and exploitation to protect the nature and the people of Greenland. It is important for me to make clear that this does not mean that the government is against mining. On the contrary, we welcome and encourage exploration and mining in Greenland. Greenland needs to strengthen its economy and diversify the industry by creating new jobs, new assignments to subcontractors and new competencies. This is why the mineral resources sector is so important to Greenland.
Aatitassarsiornermut suliniutit nunaqavissunut suliffissan pilersitsisarput aatitassarsiort aama pisataannik pilersitsisart iluanni tassa ornaliverantorin tungagunertaan oqaaseq nutaarsiarilaagara aatitassarsiorneru qalluusarnerull iluani pitsaaqutissat suunersut nunaqavissun pitsaanerusumik qaamarsaasutigineqartariaqarput taamatuttaaq Titassarsiort nunaqavissunik sulisoqarnis ajornanginnerulersittariaqarpaat iluaqutissat аннертусарнеқассаппата титассарсиортут пиумасақаатаама лиллуи сулисут илинниагақарт акорнанни илинниарсимасун сулисоқарниссақ илаатигут қулаккернеқартариақарпоқ маанаккорпиа калаал нунаани титассарсиорфин сулисут акорнана амерласуут нунақависсуупут таманналу аюнгилақ титассарсиорт нунақависсуллу таамаасиллутик имминут илуақусиссаппут патаяатумик эққаамиорииллутик тоққаммагуссақарлуартума аттавеқарлутик.
Exploration and mining projects create local employment, both within the mineral resources companies and through subcontractors. We must become better at clarifying the benefits from the exploration and the mining projects to the local community, and we need to make it easier for the industry to involve Greenlandic workers so that the benefits are strengthened. Among other things, we must ensure that there is a trained workforce within the professional groups demanded by the mineral resources industry. Right now, local labor makes up a large proportion of the employees in the Greenlandic mines, and that is good. But both the companies and the community win by having a strong local anchoring.
Suliniut maanamut ingerlas ineriartorteqqinnissaan nutaanil pilersitsinnissamut periarfis nutaat puttussuutiinerput assersuutigaluu qanittum nuu avataangingaaniit avataatungaani pisussat seqinnersuusam uliviinim qalluivik aasamanna allaat immaq augustip qaamataani uliviinimut qalluinermik suliarinnittussamut immikkut neqeruuteqartoqassara.
Greenland has a large mineral resource potential, but there are other significant factors that are decisive for whether the ongoing projects can be realized. Because new opportunities arise all the time. A very specific example is the upcoming release of the occurrence north of Nuuk, the Saki olivine mine. We expect to open a special tender on the olivine resources this summer, perhaps as early as August.
Naadakkersuusutut aatitassannaadakkersuusoqartigigakku takiwara aatitassarsiorfin ingerlatitsiniarneq aamalu immaqa ineriartortitsiniarneq annertoruissuarmik aningaasaliisussan pisariaqartitsiuq.
When I became Minister of Minerals, I realized that there is a great need for financing in the mining and exploration sector.
Isimaqarpunga maanik katersuutugut aama suleqatigiisinnaasugut nunatsinni taskalaal nunaani nunaqavissunik ineriartortitsineq aama akisussaafinnik tigisineq ataatimeeqatigias maligivara ilaasa avataaniit sulisoqarnermut tastorpil piskatningim tungatilluu aama aningaasartuutaa qaffasinnerisartit.
I realized that it's important that there's local anchoring in the mining industry, and it's important to work with the local population, which will be of economic benefit.
Isimaqarpunga aatitassarsiort suleqatigiligit aama nunatta aatitassarsiornikkut ilisimatusarsinnaanera ineriartortillugu eqqarsaqatigitariaqartugut.
And I think we should think together on how we could also create education within the mining industry.
Nammineq uapaasimminaatitama ilaat tassama aatitastamаккингиккалуарли кисиан илааса аатитассарсиорфис налили писуустерпул налили такигаангатсиги нунарсуа апериуассанериппут киап таана пииарлугулу сулиаралугулу анингаасарсиутигиссагаа.
It's a question whether whenever there are mining possibilities that we should reach out to the world only, but also focus on what will be a benefit for our country.
Isimaqangilanga aatitassarsiorfii tamarmik 100 millioonilikkanik takorluulereerligi ingerlatsisinnaasugut nunami 57,000 ataalligit innuttaqqortussuseqartimi.
I don't think that we can with a population of 58,000, I don't think that we could reach out to 100 million just that easily.
Aatitassarsiort assigiingit suleqatigerusuppakka аама таамат эққарсарнера има исимақангилақ аатитассарсиорфиит нунат аватаанерсут анингаасалиисартул нунат аватаанерсут киссаатигингиккиппут.
We want to work together with you in terms of mining, and that doesn't mean that we do not wish that we earn money.
Soqutigiwara suleqatigiifissaqarsinnaanерсугут илиссину акорнутаангитсимик уагитсину акорнутаангитсимик кисианни нунақависсут нунатсинни инериартортитсиниссаанут периарфиссаник эққарсақатааниссассинна.
I want to work with you also on how we can how these activities can be of benefit for the local population.
Ассерсуутигерусуппара Royal Greenland аллат нунат аватаанингаани сулиарисиллугулу пигисимасуупассик аам инуяқатигиинут анингаасарсиорник алларуиссуармик иниссисимасеқарсимассаалуарми.
Let's take an example with Royal Greenland. If it was run from outside, the scenario would have looked very different.
Инуяқатигин пеқатаатитсиниссақ инатсисинииппоқ таманна уа имату исигингилара исимақатигиннинниарнери атаасиаккаарлигит соқутигиса аллангуартассаси нунарпут сиуннерфеқартариақарп инуяқатигиит аама нунатсинни пеқатаалерниссаанут сулеқатаатинниссаанут.
It's important to involve the local population because it's written under the law.
Soqutigiwara kattuffiit selskaapit aama namminersorl oqartussat aningaasaliisartullu immaqa suliassaqarpugut tamatta soqutiginarnerusumik ingerlassinnaasatsinnik aama ukiina amerlanerusunut anginiagalersorl ingerlatseqatigiifikisinnaasatsinnik.
And everyone involved would hence create benefits on a long term if we think that way.
Ilinniartitaanerm siuarsaanissa siunertaralugu sooq nunatsinni aatitassanu ilinniarfeqarpugut aamalu sooq inuustissarsiitini siuarsaanermut aningaasaliini sartunik selskaapin peqarpugut taakuali ineritittinerat ua iluaqitissartaasa ataawarnerusungortinnissaanut suleqataarusuppunga.
We have a mining school, and the reason different scenarios that I want to work with you to develop.
Uani oqaaseqarnin aama una ammarlu oqaaseqarnin eqqaarusuppara quyanaq selskaapit nunatsinnut suleqataarusultik aamalu soqutiginnillitik maanga peqataajartortut.
And in this regard, I would like to thank the companies that are interested in working with us.
Aama quyaarusuppunga siunissami nunarsuormi aamminguinnerusumik aatitassarsiornerup ingerlannaqalernissaanut aamalu nunarsuormi akisussaafeqarnerusumik avatangiseqqarsaatigalit suliniiteqarneq aama aatitassarsiort aningaasaliisartullu anersaaralugu ingerlatsilernikuumata.
And I'm grateful that we have something we call green mining, and grateful also that the companies are focusing on this aspect.
Uan oqaligiaatinni ingerlatseqatigiiffiit nunatsin aatitassarsiorusutut pitsaasumik suleqatiginissaat naalakkersuus tungaaningaaniit erseqqissimik naqissiserusuppara suleqatigiineq nukittunerusoq aamalu aatitassarsiorfiit ingerlalluarpilersinnissaan suleqataasagatta.
I want to reiterate that it's important for the Greenland government that we have good relationships and good working environment in order to develop the country.
Tamam isimaqavippunga ilissi aamalu uagit nunatsinni soqutigisagut tamatta ataatimortissinnaagittiga aama nunat inui aamalu aatitassarsiorfiit sulisui aningaasarsiornerallu pitsaasima ataqatigisarneqarsinnaasu.
And I'm certain that if we work together with the local population and the companies, that this will have a positive impact on the future.
Aatitassarsiornermna alakkersuusutut soqutigilluinnakkama ilagivaat aatitassarsiorn kisiapingikkaluarlugu imeq sarfamik niueqatigiinerit erngunu kissiorfi eqqarsaatigaligittaavalu aama imaanit atorluarsinnaasagu assersuutigaluuseeqqat tamakkua assigiingit tamarmik eqqarsaatigineqaleriartermata assut kalaallnunaata inuisalu taman iluarivaat.
And not only focusing on minerals, but also on sustainable energy sources such as hydroelectrical power, and also utilize the sands at the bottom of the sea are something that we are very interested in, also in cooperating with you about.
Uraani mapeqqi atorunnaarsinniarlugu immaqalin uraani siortoqanginnissaa qulakkerniarlugu naalakkersuus sulinerat imatut nipilerneqarami aatitassarsiornerm akerliusugut sakkortuumik taan oqaatigilara taamaangilaq aataataama aatitassarsiorfinnik inerisaanerput sakkortutigilerpo.
The ban on uranium mining from the government does not mean that we are not interested in mining whatsoever, but the interest is as strong as ever.
Taamaakami suleqatigiinissarput neriutigalugu siunissami sunik anginiagaqatigiisinnaanerput ammanerusum oqallisigisinnaasariaqarparput seminaarin ima itsini uanammineq naalakkersuusut naliliisagima qeqatavallaarilaangayappara immaqa aaqissuuseqqinnissatinni taman isimmerfigineqarsinnaavoq oqitsimik oqaleqatigiinerusumik aamalu immaamaan oqaligiarnerinnaangitsimik ammasimik oqaleqatigiineri taaku aaqissuusinerm ilaasariaqartutut isimaqarfigivakka.
Perhaps in the future we could be more informal in our talks, and this setup is a little formal, but I think that it would be important if we could talk to each other on a more informal level in terms of minerals mining.
Uki tsyy ingerlaneran takisinnaavara maanakkutulli politikkik ui oqaleriaaserput saqqimmeriseriaasertungavigalugu suleqatigiineri ingerlagaangatta kinernerusumik oqimaanerusumik aamalu immaqasiunnerfigu paaseqatigifiginiarneri piffissiviisinerus atorlugu suliarisarparput kisia oqaleqatigiinerit toqqaanarnerusut taakuuput sule piffissaaruissuarma amsipaarfigineqarsinnaasut.
Formal fora can be slow, and informal discussions could create a much easier path towards cooperation.
Amigaatigiwara aningaasaliisartu aatitassarsiortut suliniaqatigiifiil tamarmik uagittinnut naalakkersuusun apeqqitigerusutatik upaaruaatigerusutatik uapeqatigalinga oqallisigineqarsinnaaneran piffissar.
And it would be a positive thing that we could discuss these matters with the companies and the financing sector on a more informal basis.
Taanaamat paaseqatigiinissam sukkanerpaamik pilersitsisartuq.
It creates understanding a lot faster.
Taamaama ullumik taamatut takivallaalaamik oqaaseqarlinga qujarusuppunga aamneriuppunga piffis atorluarlugu apuusaqarusut aama oqaleqatigisinnaagimаарligit.
And saying with these words, I hope that I can be working closer with you in terms of the mineral sector.
Kanatami palertareernermik unaqulla palerfigivallaasaqigak tamaangnaaginnarpung tamassin quyanaq.
My skin has become toned now, and in order to prevent it more being toned by the light, I thank you and step down.
Quyanaq.
Quyanaq. So the format of this Greenland Day is quite unique. That we is both the government of Greenland and together with the businesses of Greenland and the various mining companies all together, and they all have around 7 to 8 minutes to give their presentations. The next two speakers is from the Greenlandic Business Association, so I will introduce them, both of them, so we save the time. CEO Christian Kelsen will be first, followed by the chair of the mining committee, of the Committee of Raw Materials in the Greenland Business Association, Belt Solsvig. But over to you, Christian.
Thank you very much, Mads, and thank you very much, Minister, for taking the time out for this. Welcome, all of you. I think you saw most of my presentation during the previous presentation, so that's going to save me a bit of time. My thoughts were to just give you a brief introduction to Greenland and to our association and to the companies present in the room. For those of you not familiar with Greenland, this is us. It's a very big country, very small population, and we're widely spread out over the country. Bad news is most of the mining projects are far away from the settlements. Good news, though, is that we are investing in infrastructure, and we have a very, very solid infrastructure in our country when it comes to telecommunication, airports, ports, shipping lines, and so on. This is us, the industry organization, Greenland Business Association, and I can only encourage you to join the organization. We have these 10 industry committees, one of them working solely on the interest of the mineral sector. And that's the work they do, and I think Bent will touch more upon this, but the work we try to do as the GBA when it comes to mining are the four components of attractiveness for the industry. I think we can all agree that we have the geology, we have the commodities in the underground. So our work goes towards the right fiscal and political stability in our country, but also show where and what kinds of investments needs to be done when it comes to infrastructure, for instance. So this is one of the models that we use domestically and when we go abroad, and that's the way we sort of structure our work when it comes to making Greenland attractive within this industry. To give you a quick brief insight of some of the things going on, we put some of the mining projects that are far along on here. They're in blue, and the rest are things going on that could enable more investments that will support looking to Greenland. We've got, for instance, improved telecom communication. We've got a 92% penetration rate. I don't think you'll find many other countries in the world with that good communication platforms when it comes to internet and telephones. 3 airports on the way, new shipping network connecting us to the world in a new and different way. We've got investments in hydro plants coming along very soon, and there are more investments in our fiber cable network that connects us to the world, high-speed internet and the like. So what I'm here for today is to introduce ourselves and our companies. And I usually just say what's in the bag, and I say we've got everything in the bag. So I can only encourage those of you coming from the outside to look up our local companies. And yeah, just to say we've got Greenland in the room somewhere, hands up. He's over here. I encourage you to talk to people. We've got our lawyers, Helen and Thor over here, and Britta over there, Nuna Law and Arctic Law. We've got Dusas, Alan somewhere, telecommunication. Sarah's here, yeah. We've got our insurance companies, Galashlitforsikring and Islitforsikring, Dora over here, and Nikolai over there. We've got Royal Arctic Line in the back over there, Esper and Nils. We've got Arctic Import somewhere, Thomas, I saw you. He's over here for your needs in anything that goes to Greenland that you need to eat or sleep or whatever under. We've got Blue Water Shipping, Nungu, you'll hear from her in a moment. And lots of other companies. I'm sorry I didn't go through all of you, but there's not anything that we can't do in Greenland. Some of us are small and we like to partner up with companies coming from the outside so that we can provide any service needed in Greenland. So why should anyone invest in Greenland? I like to put it like this: we're actually a very stable economy. We stand very strongly on our pillars of the block grant and fishing, and we're trying to build other industries on top of that. But we're not very affected by what goes on in the world. COVID just passed through. 2009 passed through. We're fairly politically stable. We're part of the Rigsfællesskab, the Kingdom of Denmark. That gives us some options and some rights, puts us in part of the West. We've got a very solid labor market, the Scandinavian model, which most of you have heard about probably. We have a high degree of autonomy within our labor market. We have a strong critical infrastructure supported by government investments, either in companies or directly in the infrastructure. So no matter where you live or where you are, we can actually get a letter out to you, or we can call you, or we can write you an email, or we can sail out with a container or whatever it might be. With the kind of country we are, we have a very high level of transparency and democracy in the way the government is run. Our legislation is relevant. It's based on principles that you will know from other parts of Europe, North America, and the West. And then we abide by principles that you will know when it comes to financing, accounting, legislation, and other things. So we are in no way a third country. We are a very stable Western country. Good place to invest. That's an invitation for our conference in 2024. We'll be discussing things about sustainability, green options, and also with a focus on how to put these things into use within mining. And last but not least, we have been for sale, or somebody thought we were for sale. Our language seems to be very difficult, although some words are actually based on English words, dating back to the times when the Americans were very present in Greenland. But I'd just like to emphasize we are open for business. And with those words, please do look us up. We've got our magazine on the right, Aurora, lots of contemporary stuff on politics and our work. And on the left are different social media platforms. And with that, I'd like to say Goeienacht and give the word to Bet, who heads our industry committee for the mineral sector. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. I'll see if I can cut some time here. I can see that the two others took their time. As said, my name is Bent Osvig Jensen. I'm the managing director of Lumina Sustainable Materials. We operate a mine in the Gangeslusvåg Fjord on the west coast. But besides from that, I'm also the chairman of the Industrial Committee for Mineral Resources under the Employees Association. I think it has taken some years for us to become enough members from the mineral and exploration, the exploration and mining community in the Employees Association, but we have actually become quite a lot of members by now. So we have a very unique situation now where we're actually, we have a platform where we can share the experience, we can provide advices for especially the new companies, the new companies coming in. We have a board and we meet regularly where we can discuss problems that are relevant for the members. This has given us the opportunity to have meetings both with the ministry and with the agencies, both the MLSA and EMRA. And I appreciate the minister's handout that they're very, very willing to enter a dialogue with us. There are a lot of issues that can be taken up. We have some taxation issues, as he said himself, double taxations of travels. We have the IBA that at least some of the members are interested in seeing how can we develop from the IBA, and we have a need to look at the education within the mining industry. So there's enough to start up with in this industrial committee. So becoming a member of the Employees Association and also the Industrial Committee for Mineral Resources is a good way to gain influence and have your voice heard when we meet with the government, with the agencies. So with that being said, I would warmly welcome any company asking for a membership in the Employees Association and the Industrial Committee, and in general, everyone trying to get into the exploration and mining business and community in Greenland. So, thank you very much.
And our next speaker is from the Ministry of Mineral Resources and Justice. And we have two speakers, yeah. And I'll just go to your presentation. Here you go. And they will give you a more broad overview of some of all the amazing things that this department is doing right now and some of the new things that are coming up. So over to you.
Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. We'll be spending our 7 to 8 minutes telling you all about what the administration can do for you. So my name is Ranva. I'm with the Mineral License and Safety Authority, and we're your one-stop shop in the government of Greenland. That means that whichever government entity you need to contact on mineral resources, you just contact us. So we have a designated case officer working on your project specifically, and we work closely with the other government entities, including Anette's people with the Department of Geology.
Department of Geology is, oh, sorry, I need to put this down. I'm too short, sorry. Well, the Department of Geology is the primary geoscience advisor in Greenland. The department is responsible for carrying out the exploration-relevant research and also making new geoscience data available for you, the industry. And providing you with new geoscientific data is a key priority for us. The Greenland portal is where you'll find the most relevant geoscientific data from Greenland. This data is publications, geological maps, it's geochronological, geochemical, and geophysical data. The data derives from exploration and mining companies, from government-funded projects, and from scientific investigations. This data is available free of charge, and we'll continue to make new geoscientific data available for you. Currently, we're working on a 1 to 100,000 scale geological map in Hudson Land in northeast Greenland, together with the Geological Survey of Denmark and Greenland. And we're working on several critical minerals projects together with the US Department of State. And this is just some of the projects we are working on and where data will become available in the near future. Yeah, and this is the greenman.geo, where you will find all kinds of geological information and data. Another project that we initiated last year is the Diamond Exploration and Prospectivity Record that we are happy to launch today. The record is based on data from the Diamond database that was made public 2 years ago. The record describes areas in Greenland, actually the entire Greenland, and ranks the areas accordingly. What you see here on the map is the result. So we have a prospectivity map of Greenland, where the red colors rank the highest and the purple the lowest. The report is available at a booth, and it will also become available online.
Yeah, and following in Anette's footsteps on online resources, I just want to briefly introduce you to our applications portal. This is the place to go if you want to see what kind of licenses are already in Greenland, what kind of minerals are they targeting, and you can also register a user and lodge all your applications online. Some of our regular customers still prefer to send us an email and lodge their application by email and sending appendix documents by email, and for now that's perfectly fine. However, from the MLSI side, we're gradually transitioning to a more digital world, and this will be the main place to go. And also some of our new special tenders, the ministers mentioned it earlier, the Sigri tender, will be available exclusively online. So this is really the place to go. Go check it out.
Yes, and one of the areas that we hope to issue new licenses on in the future is the carbon capture and storage. And we are finalizing a strategy on carbon capture and storage to set out the path ahead. We have a focus here on carbon dioxide injections into basalts, but also the exploitation and export of olivine that can react with the carbon dioxide to form carbonate minerals. To support this strategy, the Department of Geology started mapping the carbon capture and storage potential of Greenland last year in close connection with the Icelandic CARPFIX, the Geological Survey of Denmark and Greenland, and also the US Department of State has contributed in this regard.
Yes, and this is our final slide. Just want to put a quick word out concerning the pandemic, or rather, what are we doing about it? So the government of Greenland has eased the burden for the industry in really recognizing the struggle you've gone through over the past few years, and several initiatives have already been implemented. So licenses were prolonged, exploration obligations were reduced to zero, And the licensees who had already put funds up in escrow were allowed a temporary reimbursement of funds. And then shortly before we boarded the airplane in Nuuk to go here, we got the news, and you guys are the first to hear about it. There will be a special 2022 initiatives as well. So rather than going full force back to normal this year, we're gradually transitioning back to normal, meaning that we have a 50% reduction in the exploration obligations this year, and the licensees who have been allowed a temporary reimbursement of funds will be allowed more time to re-establish their securities deposits. So this is fresh off the press. More information will follow on our website in the coming days. And if you have any questions on this or any of the other items that we mentioned here today, come see it at our booth. We're at 417, as always. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. And just to remind all of you that Royal Greenland has donated some food. So if you're hungry, please go and take a lunchbox. There will be no specific breaks. So just go and take one and eat while you listen to the presentations. It's also drinks and cutlery and everything in the back. To get those diamonds that we just heard about, you need to fly to Greenland. So the next speaker is from Air Greenland, is the CEO, Jakob Nieder.
Yes, thank you. And I've been given 7 minutes. I've also promised Mads not to reuse any jokes from previous presentations, so we're now down to 1 minute. And I was told by Christian that I don't go and make a sales pitch. So yeah, I'll try to be a little more specific to the people who are not used to operating in Greenland, what to expect, how to make sure that you get the success that we all want. So basically, this slide says it all. Advice number 1: expect the unexpected and know who to call. We have a saying: it doesn't matter whether you sail, drive, or fly. Greenland wins every time. When you hit it, it usually hurts. So if you do your proper planning, if you have the right partners, then and know who to call, then things usually work out. And just to give you an idea, this is a satellite image from where my cabin is located. It's right here, from May 2019. So, and this is what it usually looks like at this time of year. This year, it looked like this. Same date, just 3 years later. So it's the global warming, that sort of reversed itself in a way and screwed up our planning. And that's what I mean by expect the unexpected. For the next 10 years, it's probably going to look like this. So you got to take care of that in the planning. Air Greenland, we got hit by this because we operate tourist lodges in North Greenland. Same thing up there. We can't get our tourists to the lodge. We contact our own charter department. Well, we don't have any helicopter capacity, so we have to figure out a different way of solving this. Fortunately, we know who to call, who's got a ship that can break ice. But that's kind of the things that can and will happen when you operate in Greenland. So what to expect? Well, question the normal, and this is just a great example. There might have been perfect conditions for 10 years, and then you have 1 year that's just the odd one out. I guess it's the same anywhere in the world. You can expect safe operations. Greenland is not Klondike when it comes to flying or health and safety or ship operations or whatever. So sometimes I think that we get customers who are a little bit surprised that, well, our pilots, they don't fly with more load than they're allowed to. Or they won't break the duty time regulations because they know that they'll get fired. Because Greenland is just a country where we can't afford an accident, and it's very difficult to help people when things go wrong. And I think generally we have a high sort of a degree of safety in the operation, which is a current trend as well, which is quite good. Well, changing weather, it can be really great or not. And that's just something we learn to live with. The supply chains can be really long. Planning is key. And as most of you know, capacity is a big problem, both in the supply chain, in the transportation sector, and so on. So planning is really, really key to make things work. Just to give an example, We have been doing some work with transporting frozen meat to North Greenland this year because of the ice situation and other cases. It takes a long time to plan it all because the further you get out in the supply chain, the less capacity there is. So you really have to plan it. As Christian said, well-functioning infrastructure, communications, ports, quays, runways. It actually works quite well when the wind is not too strong. Yeah, capacity constraints during peak season, definitely an issue. And we have a lot of requests for helicopters in July. We could sell 20 helicopters in July, but since we can only sell 4 in January, we're not going to have 16 idle helicopters in January. So the more that we can actually work together and space out the operations, the easier it gets for everyone. But definitely capacity constraints during the peak season that you have to think about. We have very go-minded people in Greenland. We had a guy who called me up last year. He lost his suitcase. He was going to Qaanaaq, 78 degrees north, on a ship, and his suitcase was lost. It turned out that it was JetBlue who lost it in JFK, and we managed to get his suitcase to Copenhagen, to Greenland, get it on a flight to Thule, get it on a helicopter, and it wasn't even our customer, but a lot of people worked together to get that suitcase all the way to Qaanaaq, and that's what I mean. We all help each other when things go wrong, and that's really good. Short power distance, I think the minister talked about it. Very flexible culture. We can actually make decisions quite fast and make things work as long as we work together. And you know who to call. Yeah, the companies work together. It is a big country, and how do we tie all the dots together? Well, this is basically all the capacities that we need to tie this country together. And they all serve different purposes for cargo, freight, slinging, people transportation, medical evacuations, and so on. Yeah, and this is a sales pitch, so I'm just going to quickly jump to, well, the last part of this. Air Greenland is BAR certified, which secures a high level of safety. And if things do go wrong, we also have a government-funded search and rescue service, which is state-of-the-art, very modern aircraft, very skilled crews to help out, and they can reach any part of Greenland, be it medical, accident, or whatever the need is. So you just hit the SOS button on your InReach, and the helicopter will be there shortly. So yes, know who to call. That was the basic issue, and maybe the next person is one of the persons that you can call if you need help. So yeah, thank you.
Perfect. Thank you very much. The next speaker is from Arctic Law. So we'll hear a little bit about the legal frameworks and what to be aware of when going to Greenland. Then we'll follow by this, we'll go to blue water shipping, and then we will have a quick break. So everyone that wants to sit in the center also has time to go and get lunch. But now to Arctic Law. You are 7-8 minutes there. Yeah.
Thank you. And also thank you for letting me do the presentation right after Air Greenland, which their CEO being quite the presenter. My name is Britta Carlsen. I'm a lawyer, and I'm also the owner of Arctic Law in Greenland, where we work with just about every legal aspect in Greenland. First, I would like to say thank you to Greenland Business Association and the Greenlandic Self-Rule Government for the opportunity to give this very short presentation on what to be aware of when you want to enter into Greenland for business or mining purposes, in relation to which barriers and obstacles to attend to, and of course, also how Arctic Law can help you succeed as a business and mining developer in Greenland. And also, thank you to the Harbourfront Center for helping me print this little manuscript. Should have had you printed with larger letters, but we'll see how I'll manage. It's obvious when entering into Greenland as a mining entrepreneur, you of course have to pay close attention to the conditions for your license and the rules for applying of such. That goes both for the exploration license, but naturally also for your mining license. It is also of essence when entering into Greenland to be aware of legislation in Greenland that might differ from the rest of the world. That goes for legislation regarding mining, both big scale and small scale mining, environment, work environment, and the specific legislation regarding local and foreign workforce. Tax, also essential. Pay attention to that will be my advice. One of the areas that also differ from the rest of the world is that you cannot own land in Greenland. And that is of importance for the mining industry when it comes to financing, and especially when it comes to securities for the financing institutions. Given that you cannot own land, mortgages can only be taken in buildings and not in land. It is also possible in Greenland to register mortgages in movable assets and receivables, but it comes with some restrictions in Greenland. When setting up a business or a branch office in Greenland, you have to both register your business and office at the Danish Business Register, also known as the CVR register, but you also have to individually register as a business in Greenland with the Greenlandic authorities. We cannot discuss setting up a business or a mine in Greenland without talking about the challenges when it comes to local workforce. Being only 56,000 people in Greenland, we have a lot to attend to, and a lot of businesses in Greenland have trouble recruiting local workforce, as we are simply not enough. Foreign companies often have to recruit and engage with external workforce from around the world, which is possible, but requires some administrative work with different authorities from the relevant municipality to the Greenlandic home self-government and to the Danish immigration authorities. When it comes to workforce in Greenland, it is advisable to be aware of how the labor market works in Greenland as well. As in Denmark, the labor market is mainly, I think the labor market is mainly regulated through CBAs, and there are some labor laws that we recommend you also pay attention to, such as the Act of Holiday, the Act of Work Environment, and rules regarding obligatory pension pay. We advise that you, when entering into Greenland, join the GBA, and by that you also have the benefits that come with the membership. A consequence of joining GBA will be that you automatically will be part of the CBAs that GBA has made with different unions in Greenland, and you will therefore be compliant with when it comes to paying both your local and foreign workforce, which is crucial for getting permissions to actually recruiting foreign workforce to Greenland. And about that, almost every mining project in Greenland will have to use foreign workforce, and you therefore need to be familiar with the process for applying for work and residence permits. Just to give a quick tour to the process, first of all, you always have to apply for local workforce, and if that is not a success, you can apply for a permission from the municipality to recruit foreign workforce. Once you have that permission, you can then apply on behalf of your employee for a work and residence permit. You apply for that at the Danish immigration authorities, also known as SIRI. Now, SIRI has a 4-month administration period, but it is possible to get on the fast track, which will reduce the administration period with 3 months. To get on the fast track, you need to apply with the Greenlandic government. So, with all of that, remember to always call a lawyer. These are some of the areas that Arctic law can help you with. Legislation regarding mines, legal aid when applying for licenses, setting up a business branch, insight into the Greenlandic labor market, what is possible, what is not possible, what is regulated and what is not, work and residence permit, financing in Greenland. But we would also very much like to be your business partner in Greenland. Everyone who works at Arctic Law are local. We all live in Greenland. We know how to do business in Greenland. We know who to talk to and how to talk to them. We do business in English, Danish, and Greenlandic. So thank you for your time. And I've also put in this some contact information. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We will now move to another infrastructure company, Blue Water Shipping. And then after this presentation, we'll take a quick 5 minutes break, and then we'll go to all the exciting mining projects around Greenland. So, Rasmus, over to you, Blue Water Shipping.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having us here. I know that a lot of you had probably expected Nungo to be up here, but she told me she's too shy to be up here. I don't know, to those of you who know Nungo, it sounds a bit strange to me. Anyway, my name is Rasmus Jacobsen, and I'm here with my colleague Nungo, and we'll give you a bit of insight on the logistics side of Greenland. And we will also try not to make it a sales pitch, and but at the same point in time give you a bit of insight on our world. Just a few informations on Blue Water. I'm not going to go through it. I mean, we have been in the business for 50 years. This is our 50-year anniversary. Started doing business in Greenland in the 80s, and opened up our first office in Nuuk in 90. We are making a big effort out of being a local logistics provider in Greenland, but also connecting the Greenlandic business to the world. We make it a priority for us to have a local workforce and educating our staff in Greenland, and understanding the local conditions in Greenland is really, really important, such as conditions as road weather and infrastructure is very unique setup in Greenland that you're not used to seeing in many other places. In my time in Sessimut, I had a guy that called me up, and it was a new company that they were not used to deal with Greenland. And he said, Rasmus, we have a ship sitting in Sessimut, but I really need it in Nuuk. We sent it up there by mistake. Can you get a truck for us to move it right over there, because we need it right now? I mean, that's not how it works in Greenland, I'm sorry to say, but we'll find a solution for it. But it's not like we have trucks going from Sessimut to Nuuk. We are also investing heavily into Greenland. We are currently expanding up in Ilulissat, where we'll be finished with our new building up there in November. We are also expecting a new project to go ahead in Nuuk in the near future, which we hope we can tell a bit more about at a bit later stage. These are some of the areas that we are dealing with in Greenland. And we have Nungo to highlight the mining logistics part of it. We have Nungo, my colleague here, one of the most experienced people in the logistics in and around the mining logistics in Greenland. So we are really happy that she's one of our colleagues. And just to get a bit of insight on what's going on at the moment, and what we would like to consider ourselves an extended arm to companies that are willing to invest into Greenland, and we would like to say that we are able to make that happen. This is a picture taken just this week. As you all know, Pennecon is building a new airport in Qaqortoq, and we have been so lucky that we have made we would like to call it a partnership agreement with Pennecon, where we are doing all the logistics for them. And as you can see, the pictures says it all. The first picture on the left is from when the vessel was loading in Bay Bulls at Pennecon's facility. And the picture on the right is up in Qaqortoq, where we're moving it in by barge. And I guess those two pictures kind of says it all to how different logistics can be, and knowing the infrastructure in Greenland is essential to make things work. And we would like to say, like, this picture kind of says that we can make anything work in this business as long as we know what we are getting into. And with those words, but we would like to say thank you for letting us have a small presentation here. If any of you have any questions regarding logistics in and around Greenland, myself and Nungo will be around today and tomorrow, and we'll see you around. Thank you very much.
And I think all the presentations we just heard right now is a great example of the efficiency in Greenland, because we're way ahead of time, even though we were behind time in the beginning, and now we caught up. So it's very efficient. We'll take 5 minutes, so everyone can go and take some food, and then we will dive into the next 8 presentation, quick, short presentation about various mining projects in Greenland. So 5 minutes, rest your legs, get some food. Thank you. Okay, perfect. Please take a seat, everyone. We will move on to the next presentation. And a small correction. The first one, the next one we will hear is not from a mining project, but they work with one of the mining projects. They work with Greenland Ruby, that many of you know, one of the active mines in Greenland. And our next speaker is also not from Greenland, but from the Netherlands, is Eric. And Eric is from Cleantech Capital Group, and he will speak about some of his ambitions and what he can do for the mining, the various mines in Greenland. So, Eric, the mic is yours.
Thank you. I'll take this one to keep it dynamic. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for having me here. Thank you for the organization that was allowed to have a 7-minute speech. I'm competing with the lunch still, but I try to keep it short. Again, my name is Eric Jens. I'm a senior advisor to Greenland Ruby. Still missing their fin, a little bit on the sheet. And also work with the parent company of Greenland Ruby, which is LNS in Norway. And I fell in love with Greenland. I fell in love with the people. I fell in love with the pristine environment. And I fell in love actually with the huge opportunities. And actually, I'm wearing here sapphires, blue sapphires from the Ruby mine in Greenland. So I'm very proud of that. Cleantech Capital Group is a new company, and I don't want to be presumptuous. We're setting it up. It is in a development phase because we think there's an opportunity for, and we've seen it in the other presentations, investing and sourcing minerals, rare earth minerals in particular on the one hand, and renewable energy production on the other hand. Growth, sustainability, and inclusions. I heard it in the presentations before, so the opportunity is there. We know that. I think also that Greenland is perfectly positioned to benefit from that whole trend in ESG and CSR, so environmental and social and governance, and corporate and sustainable responsibility. The energy transition is there, and also the electrification trends. Mines being completely electrified, etc. But it needs power. That's why we want to focus both on renewable energy and on green, responsible mining. Of course, with established frameworks like the sustainable development, like the performance standards and equator principles. So we like to see that in the context of the global world. There's an intersection between, on the one hand, investors globally to look for ESG and CSR projects, green bonds, etc. But on the other hand, these are most likely very large investors and see basically the challenges for smaller projects in Greenland which have a longer throughput time. So that's why Cleantech Capital Group wants to find solutions. Indeed, we know that Greenland has a reliable and sustainable and audible supply of minerals. It is, however, not always easy to get them out, and I've been studying a lot of those projects. I have to go here on the next slide. That's the one. Clean energy electrification, we talked about it already, it's there. We will do primary and secondary research to understand what the projects are out there and how we can develop them or help them develop it, but also especially in the fundraising, like we did, for instance, for Greenland Ruby last year. We will not take over the operations of the target companies, but we work together with management to say, okay, what can we do, help out on the strategy? And again, we don't want to be presumptuous, and we want to work together with the Greenlandic society and the companies. Asset allocation, portfolio management. I mean, investors do want to have a return, want to look at risk management, want to look at different diversification programs. And of course, we know, and I heard indeed Jacob Niet already saying, yeah, we live in and operate in a challenging environment in Greenland, we know. But I think what we see already for a lot of projects which are out there are capable of working with those challenging environments. Here we are, basically structured access to capital. We don't know what the banks are doing, honestly. We've been working with the banks over there, and I think, I'm not sure whether the people from the Greenlandic banks over here. No, you see? So there is a gap, there is I think, an opportunity to talk about it and work together. We talked about the ESG, we talked about the trends, and the other point we want to make very, very clear is that we want to work with the local society, with the local community, like a lot of people are represented here from that local community, and work together. And also, not only looking at returns for investors, but also looking at social returns and measure the social returns, what the impact is for education, development, and creation. I heard it today again, 58,000 people. So the big challenge is not the minerals. No, the minerals are there. The big challenge is, do you have the right people, and do you have the right people at the right time? So creation of generational job opportunities. Again, strong local roots and engagement and diversity. Very, very key points. And because of time here, we work together with LNS. I think LNS in Norway has a subsidiary, LNS Greenland, and that's actually a company which has a huge history and track record in developing mines and all kind of projects and constructions in Arctic circumstances. They can operate actually 24/7, 12 months a year. And Frode Nielsen is, I'm reporting into Frode Nielsen, he was the entrepreneur for North Norway of the Year, and it's an amazing group to work with. Again, we talked about, and I can't repeat it enough, the corporate social responsibility aspects, because that's the only way to do business, doing good by doing well, and I think that's absolutely key. And work with proactively with the local community again, contractors, community, and government especially. And I love the speech from the minister today. I'm not sure whether he's still here, but I would love to invite him for that communication and that exchange. Again, positive ripple effect for the Greenland. I think that's also important to make sure that whatever we do with local companies is spreading out through the rest of the society. Again, I don't want to be presumptuous, but I fell in love with Greenland and the society and the opportunities, what I said. So long-term sustainable benefits for the community. And this is, I think, important. It takes too long for now, but this is interesting, and I'm happy to share, by the way, the presentation. I'm not sure whether they're going to be sent to everybody. I think that makes sense. Growth, inclusion, sustainability, and find that combination. Growth, sustainability, and inclusion are the key aspects. They are connected with each other, can't go without each other. You need to have growth, you need to make money to be able to be sustainable. You need to be inclusive, especially in an environment and a society as in Greenland. And you need to be sustainable for the longer term. Rounding up, Clean Tech Capital Group. It is basically the combination and the dream I have. Can you imagine if we create enough energy in Greenland to have pure green mining, electric mining? So basically learn from the rest of the world and have full green mining with renewable energy. Can you imagine if we create so much power that you can even create data centers for Google and Amazon, etc. in Greenland? I'm not dreaming in colors, these don't exist, but it's absolutely possible. And think about work with Tesla for power storage and everything else. And then you get your support also from Exim Bank. So it's all connected, and that's what I mean with the inclusion. So not presumptuous, but enthusiastic. We would like to partner with everybody here in the room and have a conversation. So we're just kicking off, we're just starting. Thank you so much.
Perfect. Thank you. Spot on time. The next speaker is from Greenland Resources. So I just need to change the slides. And I don't know if Greenland Resources want the video one first or. Well, so I will put on this. Do you want the video on first or? Okay. You can just start. You got your 7-8 minutes now.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, everybody. We want to welcome to Toronto the Minister and the Deputy Minister, and thank the Greenland Business Association. We've had a very positive experience the past couple of years working with the minister. On a special note, we want to thank our Greenlandic friends Niels Christensen, Philippus Kuitse, Andreas Isaksen, and Lea Isaksen. They made our last summer field program, which we have close to 35 people for over a month, very successful, and they saved our lives in one way. We had a polar bear in our vessel. Some of you may have seen the video, but that was our vessel. And that was a happy story. The polar bear left happily after 10 minutes, and we all left happily after 10 minutes. So the way it's going to work, we're going to put a presentation, a video, so you can see what we're trying to do. And then we'll do 2-3 slides of a presentation. Okay, can start with the video.
The Malmberg project is an open-pit primary molybdenum deposit strategically located near Europe in east-central Greenland, 30 kilometers from Tidewater, 33 kilometers from Mestersvig Airport, 600 kilometers northwest of Reykjavik, Iceland, and 190 kilometers northwest of Itukotormit, the only nearby settlement. According to the World Bank and the International Energy Agency, molybdenum is a critical mineral that will be used in all green energy technologies in the green energy transition. Greenland Resources is capable of supplying 23% of European molybdenum demand from a responsible EU associate member source. Europe is the second largest molybdenum user worldwide and has no production of its own. Greenland Resources proposes to build a 35,000 ton per day mining facility, which would produce 483 million pounds of molybdenum over a mine life of 20 years at a cash cost of US $6.38 a pound of molybdenum. In 2022, Greenland Resources completed a definitive feasibility study, which concluded an expected levered after-tax IRR of 33.8%, an after-tax NPV6 of US $1.1 billion, and a payback period of 2.4 years. The environmentally friendly mine design has a low footprint disturbance due to a modularized infrastructure, reduced CO2 emissions and water usage, low aquatic shipping disturbance, and clean tailings. The camp, truck shop, and administration buildings will be constructed across the valley to the south of the deposit. The deposit will be mined using open pit methods. Molybdenum will be recovered by trucking the rock to a crusher and conveying it along a 26-kilometer aerial rope conveyor to the processing plant in the harbor. Since the rock is conveyed downhill, the conveyor produces no CO2 and will generate 1.3 megawatts of electricity from operations. Once at the harbor, the rock is conveyed to the processing mills that will extract molybdenum from the rock. The molybdenum concentrate will then be shipped to Europe. Tailings from the operation will be stored to the north of the harbor in a natural inlet. Containment of the tailings management facility will be world standard and will allow the tailings management facility to operate maintenance-free in perpetuity after mine closure. Personnel working in the processing facility and harbor will be housed in a camp ship, a refurbished ice-class ferry. Greenland Resources is building the most environmentally friendly molybdenum mine in the world, capable of producing very high-quality molybdenum concentrate with low impurity content that will secure supply from an EU associate member country to the EU steel industry, with the potential to make a positive economic and social contribution to Greenland, as well as to the European Green Deal.
Okay, well, thank you. This is what we're trying to do. As you can see, we have the logo from the European Raw Material Alliance. We just press released yesterday we became a sponsor by them. So we're one of their projects, so we're very grateful for that. It's a strategic project for Europe. There's no molybdenum in Europe, and as you know, Steel needs molybdenum, and steel is around 20% of EU's GDP, which is the second largest economy in the world, very close to the US, like close to $19 trillion, 10 times the size of Canada. So they need this thing, and they want secured supply, and they want quality. And quality is something that Malmberg has. We'll talk about it. I don't know how to change this. So I want to start with this. Mining is all about people, and it's an incredible tool and an incredible industry that you can really help to change people's life. We have a lot of experience on this. We're not just saying it. We did a deal a few years ago, TSX listed, where we incorporate a community, very poor community in South America. We make them part of the company, on the labor side. They were shareholders. And the end of the story was that they increased their wealth dramatically when we exit the company, and we changed their lives. Our partner here, Keith, has also done North American Palladium, which was from 0 to over $1 billion, from greenfield to production. We just announced our colleague, Brian Tobin, joined our advisory board. He was the president chairman of Consolidated Thompson from 0 to $17, $4.9 billion exit, mining play in Labrador. And we dealt a lot with the communities there. I was on the site. I was not part of that team, but he did. Keith dealt with the communities, First Nation communities, and this other deal that we did in South America, we basically gave the community, they were the largest shareholders in the company, in the public company. We have a very strong team now, I think, other than our technical team and our consulting team led by Tetra Tech, that we did the feasibility study, published it a couple of months ago. We have an advisory from Denmark, Jens Moberg. He's the chairman of Grundfos, also chairman of the Lego Family Fund, was chairman of PostNord. We have also Tobin. We have Naya Bianco on our board. She's Greenlandic, and she's from the east coast of Greenland. So she knows what's going on with the people better than anybody. Change. Okay, so this is basically the project highlights. Overall, we're trying to do a green operation, and the quality of the ore is 10% of the world has this quality. So we only gonna need mainly water to process the ore because it's got very low deleterious elements. It's going to be a great project for Greenland. The feasibility study is promoting roughly $800 million US, life of mine of corporate taxes, and roughly 300 people employed 24 hours that we intend them to be mainly Greenlandic. These are the economics. As you can see, the key part of the project is the OPEX. Even at a $15, $14 molybdenum, right now it's trading close to 18, we're very profitable. And the secret of any project in mining is that you take the cost of producing the mineral, the OPEX, as low as possible. This is the graph of prices for the past 15 years. This is where we can produce 1 pound of molybdenum. So we have a lot of room in case, markets deteriorate. I guess that's it. Yep. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And many of these, remember your phone, many of these slides will be shared either on Greenland Business Association or will be sent out to an email to everybody afterwards. So now I need to multitask and change the slides to the next presentation. That's Longland Resources. So if Longland Resources could come on stage, then you have you just plug it in. Then hopefully with magic it will come on.
Thank you. Longland Resources, also known as Conoco Limited. So Longland is the subsidiary that holds the licenses in Greenland. I'm Thomas Abraham James. I'm a non-executive director of Conoco. I've been working in Greenland as well since 2008. So I think it's fair to say that I fell in love with the place and I just keep going back. So, but for me, it's the east coast of Greenland. That's the place that I like best. So I guess isolation. The nearest settlement to our Ryberg project is in Iceland. So we've had a few people working with us for a number of years, and they always ask me, they say, well, are we going to see someone this year? And the only ones we've seen has been a couple of Greenlanders, but mostly it's been Dutch coming through, actually, with their yachts on holiday. But nevertheless, so we are an exploration company that looks for precious and base metals. So with our Ryberg project, there's the location map, East Coast, the area that's down to the southern bit there is Ryberg, and to the north of that is our Mestisvik project, which is just nearby to Greenland Resources, who we just heard from. So the project down to the south, Ryberg, really is frontier exploration at its finest. There is a mineral resource nearby to us, a project called Skaergaard, held by Major Precious Metals, and our ground is next to theirs. And really, we're just trying to find something new. We believe that geologically, it's an incredibly convincing place to be. It's got all the right geological hallmarks and traits for a large mineralized system. And we last year we went off and did a drill program and a geophysical survey. I think we could possibly be guilty of being gluttons for punishment. So last year, the pandemic, it was a challenging year to do field work. And on top of that, we thought we'd import a helicopter from South Africa. It was a very trying experience, and nothing to do with Air Greenland. We love Air Greenland, but this particular helicopter was kitted out with all the survey equipment that we needed to use. It was very fit for purpose. And it's the first time we've ever done a regional geophysical survey in this part of Greenland. It's completely clean. There was no data at all. We did that survey last year, and really it's opened up the Ryberg project. So we've now got, six prospects within the license areas. We've got just over 4,500 square kilometers. And to be quite frank, I think that any company would be delighted to have one of these prospects. Here we are with 6 in the one project area. But this is the data set. This is what they flew. And we've got, so Skaergaard that I mentioned is down here. And what we seem to have done is found something very similar to Skaergaard up here at number 4, Cascata. We've then got magmatic sulfides here at Mickey, and then up at Tegida and Sorticap. So we drilled at those locations last year, and we did hit nickel sulfides. And then the new ones are this one down here, Quest, Kitapirinek, and then Pyramid, are 3 new projects, and we actually have a team that's on its way to Greenland as we speak. We heard earlier that Greenland's quite dynamic in terms of its climate. We experienced that this week. So our ship left Iceland, went across the east coast of Greenland, stayed there for 2 days in the middle of the ocean, and then turned back to Iceland. So there was an abundance of ice coming down the coast. And it's a tad frustrating because we know that the week before a cruise ship went through and there was no ice whatsoever. So it is Greenland at the end of the day, and this is, it's part of the fun of it, to be honest. It is that dynamic and it's unpredictable, but nevertheless, the team will get in and we'll be drilling this year. Look, I've only got 7 minutes, so I won't go into detail really about these projects. But maybe what I'll do is I'll highlight this particular one here, which is Pyramid. So Pyramid, why is it called Pyramid? Well, it looks just like a pyramid. It stands out rather well, and it's a very rusty feature. It's a huge mountain that's surrounded by the ice. It stands out magnificently, and for some reason, we never actually landed the helicopter on it. We didn't take a rock. And then sure enough, we get the geophysical data set last year, and it comes out as a screamingly big anomaly that goes down to the bowels of the Earth. So I think it's fair to say that we'll be working on that one fairly rigorously. The other 2 that we'll be drilling, so this one here, Quest, this is appears to be an intrusion of sorts, and even though we're in a quite remote environment, people have always been there. So the previous explorers in the 70s did some wonderful work, and all around our intrusion, we find there's a whole heap of chrome, nickel, and copper anomalies there. So we'll be evaluating that one. And then Kitapirinek, which is the one on the right-hand side. This one, nobody's ever stepped foot on in history. We can't see any record of this ever being recognized at all. But it's a very large intrusion. And I guess we'll know next week as soon as the ship gets in exactly what that is. So I mean it when I say that it is frontier exploration, and literally nobody has been there in Earth's history. 2 minutes? Okay, thank you. So we are an Australian company, so a little touch of Australia on the east coast of Greenland. There's a camp that's in the area at Ryberg and an airstrip. So we've got a little bit of infrastructure. And then just very quickly, our project up to the north, Mestersvig. I like this photo. It shows what's possible in Greenland. So our Mestersvig project has the Danish speakers will correct me as soon as I say this, the Bleeklippen mine, Bleeklippen. But it's the only mining operation to ever existed on the east coast of Greenland. It's the lead zinc mine. It's now closed. But they operated for 11 months a year at 72 degrees north. So if they could do it then, we think we can push it the extra month and get that 12 months a year. So we're also going to be drilling at the project, and our intention is to build up a resource and to reopen that mine. And then that's our license area, and then the gap in the middle is our neighbours at Greenland Resources. So we wish you every success. We would benefit as well from a mining operation there. So the race is on. Who's going to be first? Is it us or you? Let's find out. I was told 2 minutes ago that I had 2 minutes left, so I guess I've got 30 seconds, have I? Okay, all right, super. So, what should I talk about? So this is the Mestersvig airstrip, actually. It's a military base. So this is near us. Not very often that you see the jets fly through like that, but it does, for a very remote location, it certainly does help having that present, that infrastructure. Interestingly, that military base was actually first built for the mining operation, and then the military took it over. So, yeah. What have we got? That's it. Yeah. Perfect. Done. Thank you. Cheers.
And now we will move to the southern part of Greenland, to AEX Gold, an elder that many of you have known before. He's been on stage before, and I will just hand it over to you while I put on your presentation.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. Thanks for having me. My name is Eldur Ólafsson. I'm the CEO and founder of AEX Gold, soon to be called Amarok Minerals. I think, is this coming? Okay. Yeah, so we'll make this as short as possible. So essentially AEX, or now soon to be Amarok Minerals, we've been working in Greenland for the past 8 years. We're listed in 2 exchanges, in Toronto and in London. And our focus point and our main purpose is to create what we say a Greenlandic legacy. So we're not here to create a company that is Canadian, Icelandic, UK, or anything else, but a Greenlandic company. And we do that through these 5 values. So we lead through professionalism. So we built up a team of people, both on the executive level and on the ground, that are from the mining industry, have a long-lasting experience in the mining industry on the board level and various other positions. We mentioned this before, we need to be innovative and agile in this environment. It's one of the most important features of it, and we need to be collaborative and caring. And how we do that, we try to focus more on how we educate and train and empower people within the organization to grow, rather than necessarily focusing on the percentage of Greenlanders working for us. We have more than 50% of our of our staff in Greenland are Greenlanders, by the way, but soon enough this won't be the key focus. The key focus is how we empower everybody to be up in our organization. And we're proud on every single level in our organization, geologists, mining engineers, drillers, board members, we have a Greenlandic representation. We take a long-term perspective. We've been there for 8 years. I've been here probably for 8 years speaking to you. So, but that is certainly something that pays off in Greenland. And we can see that now with the recent development in the world, that it's hugely important, not only to Greenland, but also for the rest of the world, that these resources are explored and delivered. The last one, and not the least one, is execute and deliver. We are beholden to our shareholders to make sure we deliver the value and the work that we're supposed to do. And therefore, you need to keep that in mind. What we focus on, and we use this as a working name, is what we call the North Atlantic Way. There's nothing new to any Scandinavian nation, is that we need to focus on how we generate electricity and how we use technology to mine these resources that we need for electrification. And on that front, on all of those E, S, and G, Greenland has the potential to stand out. And it's actually something that is important, not how we operate and how we get investors and so on, but it's also something that makes sense business-wise. I'll give you an example. Third of our cost is energy cost. When the oil prices are going up, that affects our margins. So if you think more long-term, you take on investment in something that is energy-related, your margin will be better. If your governance and your focus on the right people and how you educate people and how you build up your relationship, you have a more longer-term perspective of it, and you don't hit the problems that we're seeing in some of the third world countries today. And effectively, again, it's important that at least we supply the Western world with the minerals that we need for the future. So where does that put us? Well, we built up a portfolio of assets, which is a development asset, previous producing mine called Nalunaq, where we are on track we're already drilling that this year. We have 250,000 ounces at 18.5 gram per ton. We have a path to increase the resources there for the past few years and going forward. I'll go into that. On the other frontier, we have AES Gold Target, which is Vaga Ridge and Nanook. We believe, as a management of AES, that these are a potential for world-class deposits, meaning they're extremely large. On the strategic mineral side, we've been developing that over the years. We have been relatively quiet about that, but we essentially are at the moment drilling Sava, which is a copper IOCG deposit, where we acquired the license package from Orano. We announced that a few months back, where we got Stendalen, which is a vanadium titanium showing, but also has the potential for nickel sulfide, and then Pattisok, which is a rare earth potential. A snapshot of our company. We have very good share register. We're lucky enough to have the sovereign fund, well, I should say VEX fund and the Greenland Venture Fund as our strategic investor, and CISA, the pension fund of Greenland. So 10% of the holding is in one way or another Greenlandic Danish hand. We have a prominent investor base in London, in Scandinavia, and in US. We just announced on Friday a new joint venture with ACAM, where we are going to put all of our strategic mineral asset into a subsidiary where we will own 51%. They will bring in initially 18 million sterling, or about 30 million Canadian, I think the conversion rate is right, correct me if I'm wrong, 30 million Canadian dollar. We will provide about 10 in kind, so we make sure all of this capital goes into the ground. And the intention of that, using that capital, is to drill out at least 3 targets, so 3 years worth of exploration. We can then draw on another 10 million sterling if needed at that point in time. And this is a major success for us. We've been working on this for 1.5 years, and it shows again why it's important to build up with your companies with long-term perspective in Greenland, with the right management, right team, right stakeholder engagement, etc., etc. 2 minutes, sorry. On Nalunaq, I'll make it more quicker, sorry about that. We have a 5-stage process to bring that into production. We are at this stage here, stage 3. We have been finishing our resource modeling, and now we're in the resource growth. We've been drilling the deposit systematically, and we're continuing that. Next year, we are targeting to do a bulk sample, and then the following year, we are looking toward initiate a full production. All studies in terms of technical studies have been finished. We're now upgrading our knowledge of the resource itself and the high-grade nature of it. It's all about planning, just like Greenland is, so it's making sure that the capital allocation is done correctly. In terms of exploration, our mineral system model. James Gilbertson is here with us as well. What we've been working on is that we essentially have done our mineral system modeling and say we have this strategic mineral belt, essentially which starts in Labrador, goes through the Garda province where they have the big rare earth deposits of Greenland, Kvanefjeld, and goes through Kirununa and into Scandinavia. We then have the gold belt that crosses that, essentially something that is similar to what you find in Newfoundland and goes up to Scandinavia. And on that we have Nalunaq, and as you can see, Vagar sits on the cross border of that, which makes it so interesting and possibly sizable. We run this model here of full cycle asset portfolio, where we allocate capital behind how we create value against each asset that we have, and then we develop each of these assets in a certain manner. So as my last slide, the focus here is that in the next 3 years we will bring Nalunaq in production. The capital has been allocated to drill out the assets here in the strategic metals and in gold. So at the time when we're in production, we can then use the cash flow from Nalunaq to be able to develop this other asset into becoming a mine. So Nalunaq is not only a gold mine, it's a concept mine for the rest of the mine, how we want to build it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm very impressed by everyone is very good at keeping the time. The next mine is Green Rock Mining, a part of Alba Group, graphite, iron, etc. So Green Rock Mining, the spotlight is very light up here. Oh. Front of, okay, so yeah, you go. Over here, just, you can. So, you have 7-8 minutes.
Can I use this?
Yeah, of course.
Like Elton John without the piano.
You can play.
Hello, everyone. Green Rock Mining, as has been trailed, we are a fairly new listed company since September of last year, but we came out of Alba, which has been working on these projects for a number of years. We are in the critical minerals space, which is good, and we're looking to get 2 of our flagship projects into development in the next 12 months, and then obviously into production. Disclaimer, I won't bore you with that, it's very long, probably the longest in history. Our overview, well, what are we trying to do? We're trying to get critical minerals into production, benefiting from that key structural driver, which is the global energy transition. We've got high-grade projects. You can see there we've got 3 assets in northwest Greenland, in particular Thule Black Sands, which is our ilmenite project. And far south, because we like to make things interesting for ourselves, we've got Amitsoq, our very, very high-grade graphite deposit. The demand for graphite, as I'm sure you know, is looking very, very strong, 2,500% growth forecast by 2040, so 25 times current demand. Ilmenite prices are also pretty strong, a lot stronger than when we started exploring at TBS. This is our management team, and quite a lot of you will know our CEO, who's about to join, 1st of July, Stefan Bernstein from Gaius. Lars Brunner, I'm sure that most of you know, unfortunately can't be with us to crack some of his terrible jokes. And Mark Rakovides is one of our non-execs. He's president of Euromines. So a pretty strong board, I would say. So Amitsoq, super high-grade graphite. Why do I say super high-grade? Because our average resource grade is 20%, just shy of 20%. And that's a list of all the advanced, or most of the advanced graphite projects in the world. Ours is in light blue right at the far end, and that's obviously by grade. The only grade that's higher than ours is Talga in Finland, who have got a market cap of 450 million Australian dollars. So there's quite a lot of blue sky for us. So we've got, as I say, pretty high grade as well, and that's obviously very important, not the only thing. We'll come to why that's not the only thing in graphite. So Mr. Musk once said that lithium-ion batteries should be called nickel graphite batteries because actually there's more nickel and graphite in them than there is lithium. So we're pretty supportive of him when he said that. There's 10 times more graphite, in fact, than lithium in a lithium-ion battery. Now, why is that important to us? Well, we've got graphite that is amenable to producing high-grade battery grade, high purity graphite, what we call HPSG, high purity spherical graphite. We've done a lot of metallurgical test work to prove that. And not only that, we can get to the 99.97% pure graphite, and we can do it without any use of acid, only alkaline purification. So that's very important from an environmental standpoint. And why is it important economically? Because we want to be selling that HPSG product because it commands many multiples price-wise than a simple flake graphite concentrate would. And so anything from $3,000 to $4,000 a ton can be a lot more than that, depending on specifications. We've drilled last year. These are the drill pads from last year. We've got a resource of 8 million tons at 19.75%, 1.6 million tons of contained graphite. 2 graphite layers, the upper and the lower there. And we're drilling again this month. We're starting a bigger drilling campaign to really increase the size of the resource and also the category classification of the resource. Just quickly, if I've got time, 34. I thought I'd try and turn that down a bit. How do we do that? There we go. Yeah, let's go back. Oh, I can't turn it on now. That's a shame. Ah, thank you. Now I paused it. Sorry, a bit loud, but anyway. So this is the southern part of Amitsoq Island, and we're just swimming around. I took this video, so I'm sorry it's not the best, not very slick like Ruben's video, but nonetheless, you can see there, it's about to finish, so it's just, you can see there the upper graphite layer, that you can see the line there of the upper graphite layer that we've got, and the southern one comes through and they join. And there you can see also the old processing plant. This was a mine in production 100 years ago. Small-scale production. They didn't need a lot of graphite back in the 1900s, apart from for pencils, I suppose. Things have changed a lot nowadays. So it's a huge, huge island. There's a lot of graphite there. And as I say, we're now drilling, or will be drilling this month for about 3 months. That's our drill plan. That's our base camp that we've set up there. We've taken all the old processing plant away. And we're targeting anything between 5 to 15 million tons. That's our exploration target. So that'll add a lot of contained graphite to our resource if we get anywhere near that. We've also got another deposit on the mainland, which I probably didn't have time to talk about, but again, very high grade, up to 33% grade so far, not drilled. We hope to drill that next year. Tule Black Sands is our other flagship project up in West Greenland. Nice picture there. And you might be familiar with this because it's very similar mineralization to our near neighbors, Dundas, and it's a mineral sand project, ilmenite principally, and we have a resource. We've drilled it twice. In fact, we are waiting on an upgrade to our resource imminently, so we hope to move that again up significantly in tons and classification. So pretty hopeful about that project. Also, ilmenite's very important, big market. Specifically for titanium dioxide, so that's what we would expect it to go into, pigment production. And we have drilled, as I say, and we're expecting a significant upgrade in our resource in the next 1 to 2 months. Our development strategy is, sounds like a lot of exploration. Well, we should be finishing exploration essentially this summer, or principal exploration this summer, have sufficient resources then to go into scoping studies. We are starting EIA and SIA work at both projects. We're looking to fast track these into development and a mining license application, aggressively, should we say, the end of next year. So that's the timetable. I've got 2 minutes to go, but actually I'm done pretty well. We've got 2 other projects, Melville Bay Iron Ore. That's a resource, and we haven't done a lot of work with it. We're really focused on Amitsoq and TBS, but there is obviously potential there for a high-grade DSO deposit, just like Mary River, which is across the Baffin Bay and is a very, very successful high-grade mining operation over there, shipping about 3 to 4 million tons per annum to Europe and Japan. So there's always been a hypothesis that that Melville Bay is an analogue of Mary River. We'd love to test that. We'll need some more funds to do that in future years. And we've also got Englefield, which is an early stage project. Those are some of our retained advisors and consultants. You can see quite a number of Danish and Greenlandic groups there, and rely heavily upon, obviously, the best technical and professional advice that we can get. Those are our contact details, and that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The next speaker is from Eclipse Metals. They make industrial metals, rare earth elements as well. And just for all of you, there will be a reception tonight at 5 at the Lakeside Terrace. So from 5 to 7, you have the opportunity to ask questions, follow up, and so on with all the speakers. Because I know that all of this is going very fast, but but at the reception tonight at 5, you will have opportunity to talk with them again. So now, Carlos, over to you.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you very much to the Greenland Business Association, in particular Christian, and also Departments of Mining, MLSA, for providing this opportunity to be here. It's a pleasure to be here. And most importantly, we're at Eclipse, we're proud to be part of, to build on the 120 years of the legacy of the lucrative Ivitud mine, which we are, we've inherited a lot of history, a lot of data, which has helped us understand this project, and we're building on that. Firstly, I'll do my duty and put the actual disclaimer up there quickly. Eclipse is an exploration and mining development company based out of West Australia, Perth. We have an impressive portfolio of multi-commodity assets in Australia and also in Greenland. In Greenland, obviously, we are new. We've acquired the project in early 2021, and we've, you could say we're crawling, walking and running. We're still coming out of the crawling stage, learning about Greenland, and we're fortunate to be partners with some very good people that we've been collaborating with, and to get to understand Greenland better. The Ivitud project is, as I mentioned, multi-commodity project. It's got 120 years of history. It has produced 3.8 million tonnes of cryolite. Cryolite is used as a flux for producing aluminium. There's still some remnants of cryolite still present in the bottom of the pit. And also, we're looking at the Granadale area, which is about 6 to 10 kilometres, depends which way you go. Granadale itself, as a base, it's about 5 kilometres. The actual deposit of the carbonatite, which you could see the coloured marks on the actual map, that particular area there is widely spread, mineralised with rare earths, and also carbonatite. We have identified undiscovered polymetallic potentials within the actual project. Granadale itself has got heliport, it's got a wharf and a power station, and also Ivitud itself, as I mentioned, it's got 120 years of history. So there's a lot of the infrastructure is largely tied, which we look to rejuvenate. Overall, the Ivitud itself has got the potential for cryolite, fluorite, high silica grades of 99.9%, which is quite high for at the bottom of the pit, which hasn't been exploited yet. It's also got a body of zinc siderite still that hasn't been extracted. Further up at Granadale, it's the rare earth mineralisation. It's widely spread. The surface samplings are showing very good results. In particular in europium, it's up to 5 times higher than any other projects that we've looked at. It's quite a complex geology. We're still trying to understand more and more about Granadale. The more we look into it, the more exciting it gets. It's also, Ivitud itself has got potential for lithium, and we've just recently delineated this through some sampling and with the help of St Andrews University at UK. And the results are up to 430 parts per million, and we'd like to further explore that. The tailing dumps from the historical mine has got the potential for quartz. That's what we're looking at, also rare earths. We have sampled that area recently, and it has produced some very good results in heavy rare earths. Granadale itself is a carbonatite deposit. It's got the potential for light rare earths, where Ivitude itself is slightly different geology. And we're still trying to understand that with the help of St Andrews and Oslo University. They will be there in August this year. They're spending a few weeks there trying to do a PhD studentship on the actual site. They'll be working closely with Eclipse to get a better understanding on the geology of this particular project. So I'll be a bit quick on this. Granadale contains the source of carbonatite minerals and rare earths. Carbonatite itself is a neutralizing acid mine. It's used for neutralizing acid mine water, so it's a big plus for other miners within Greenland. At the moment, from our understanding, there's no the actual supplies of carbonatites coming from Canada to Greenland, and we hope that that production could be from Greenland itself. The rare earth mineralisation is widespread from the surface. It occurs throughout the Granadale complex, especially in late stages. Two types of rare earths that we've identified. It's also, one is the carbonatite, and also there's the strontium rare earths within Granadale, which we're further exploiting on. We do have a drilling program planned. We've submitted the application with MSA, and we hope to mobilise sometimes during July or early August. Overall, within the pit environment, we have, from the historical drill records, there's about 19,000 metres of drill records that are still there in Kangerlussuaq. Some of it is in Denmark. We have taken samples from the actual drill logs, drill cores, and it has produced very good assay results, in particular for rare earths and quartz. And also, there is, we've delineated, obviously, some exploration targets within the pit environment. There's in several domains, as you can see up on the charts. There's also potential of zinc and iron, which is the siderite body that we like to exploit on. The quartz itself is quite interesting. There's about 5.8 million tonnes of quartz, high purity quartz at the bottom of the pit that historically was not focused on. And in today's world, obviously, it's got a lot of potential. Quartz itself is, as you can see, it's got the potential for, in particular, having a project that can supply from Europe to Europe is a huge advantage. The overall CAGR is predicted to go from 670 million up to 1.2 or above 1.2 billion by 2027. And China's demand is growing, and obviously supplies from Europe to Europe is a huge plus. That puts me a bit more under pressure, so I have to be quick. Now, we're working very closely with the local suppliers. As you can see, Ollie Christensen is a leading geologist within Greenland. He's working very closely with the company. Since acquiring the actual project, we have built good relationship with the local suppliers and consultants. And we've also, as mentioned earlier, we've got a drilling program due. Greenland has got huge potential for us. We see Greenland as geologist heaven. As mentioned throughout the presentation, there's some really good projects out there. Blue Jay, Tambourines, AX Gold, and other companies that we've seen the presentations today has proven that there's a lot of potential for Greenland, in particular in mining. We have, as mentioned, we've partnered with good geologists. There's some very talented people there, good drillers. Rasmus from 60 North, he's a real gentleman. We met him a few weeks ago. He'll be helping us with the drilling, and also Nuna Law. It's greatly appreciate the guidance from them to guide us through the crawling stage into the walking stage. Hopefully, we hope to see in a couple of years' time to be running in Greenland. Overall, 6 to 12 months plan. We've got a drilling program. We've got St Andrews University and Oslo University will be there for a number of weeks on Ivetut, studying the mineralogy there. And also we are preparing our environmental impact assessment with the help of some Greenlandic companies that will assist. And we hope to get our mining license in due course. And we also are looking at very closely in the short term in regard to dewatering that pit. Overall, the project's got the potential to be a short-term producer from the tailing of quartz and possibly cryolite. It's got the potential of to be a high profitable rare earth operation. It's close to infrastructure. It's got port facilities, or wharf facilities, should I say, roads, accommodation. It's got all the infrastructure from the historical times still there. And we look forward to build on the foundation that we've built, the relationship that we've built with the local consultants and local businesses. And we have an experienced board of management in Australia. We have a long track record of building projects, exploring projects in Australia. And overall, we're trading on Australian Stock Exchange. As you can see, I won't go too much into that. So, yeah.
Thank you very much.
I'll keep it brief. Thank you very much.
And I guess you will be at the reception.
I will be,
Yeah.
yes. Yeah.
Perfect.
Thank you.
So yeah, you'll be able to meet everyone at the reception at 5, same place, but at the Lakeside Terrace for a few drinks. Also, if any of you wants more food, there's plenty of food, so please take some food. But now we have 2 more presentations left, and now we will move up north. We'll move up to some zinc. And Michael, you are ready to tell about the project. Michael doesn't have any slides, or he had slides, but we don't have them on the computer, so he will freestyle. Yeah.
We're going slideless today. Thank you, Mads. Perfect. Thank you, everyone. It's a pleasure to be back. It is Ironbark's third PDAC. My third PDAC, Ironbark's 15th PDAC. So we've been in Greenland since 2007, deeply committed to the country, and it is a pleasure to be here. So thank you all. I think I see my role, or the role of industry today, to be promoting Greenland more so than any one of these companies. And that's important to note because I would love to be the second mine in Greenland that gets up. It doesn't matter who's first, because there'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. There's the potential for many of these. Doing the first one, the first large one at scale is a tough challenge, which is why there's been a number of us working away diligently for a number of years. But we truly believe in the country, or I wouldn't be here, and Ironbark wouldn't have been in the country for as long as it has done. I think also important to note, people might be wondering, why do these things take so long? Years, decades sometimes. Resources are a really competitive game. We're all known as price takers, i.e. we have no ability to set our own price. That makes it very important to control your costs, as one of the speakers said earlier. It also means you can go through quite long winters, excuse the pun, in Greenland, where projects may or may not look as appealing. Right now, we haven't really focused on the market much today, but for anyone that has a share portfolio and has been looking at it the last couple of days, it's been pretty rocky, double pun. And you can buy stocks like Rio Tinto, which is trading on an 11% yield. You can buy BHP, so the two largest diversified miners in the world, yielding sort of 10% off the back of the last couple of days of share trading. So all of these stories are very promising, including ours and all of the ones that have been presented so far, but it is important, I think we all recognise they don't exist in a vacuum, and the market is really competitive. So I said I'd love to be the second mine that gets up in Greenland if we're not able to be first. For those that don't know Citronen Fjord, I know many of you do. We're not looking for something, we already have it. So we know what's there. What have we done in the last 15 years? We've committed about 150 million Australian dollars of expenditure. We've done all of the drilling to move from discovery. Some of that was done before we acquired the project, moved through resource now into reserve category. So we have 15 years of reserve life, 20-year mine life forecast. We have the support of two of the biggest zinc groups in the world. So Glencore and Trafigura are both shareholders of ours and offtake counterpartners of ours. Zinc's an interesting metal. It's not quite as sexy as some of the battery metals, but it is very important. If you want to build steel infrastructure, you need zinc. You want to build a wind turbine for all the Danes in the room, particularly if it goes offshore, you need zinc. You want to build a solar PV cell, you need zinc. You want to increase your agricultural yields in certain parts of the world, you need zinc. So whilst it's not particularly sexy, it's a really big, deep and liquid market. It's the fourth most traded metal in the world. And when you go into a banking process, what that means is the people looking to lend you money, and all of these projects typically will need both debt and equity to get up. We have the ability to forecast a price curve, for example, with enough comfort for a bank to write a really large cheque, which is what we will ultimately all need. We've done a huge amount of work permitting in country. So we've done everything up to our Section 86 permit, so we had an exploitation licence granted in 2016. The Section 1943, which is the right to close your mine down, was granted in 2020, and we have one left to go. So there's been a huge amount of work done by my team back in Perth. We're also from Australia, and in conjunction with the government. And I will just step back one moment here too. I found the department in particular the last couple of years has been really proactive. I would commend you on the work that you are doing. I think historically this has been a bit of a sore point from the industry. I think the engagement and the proactivity is much improved, to the point that Thomas Lauritzen called me at about 5:30 this morning. So thanks, Thomas. Nice to know you're working around the clock as well. The most important step forward that our business has undergone in the last probably 10 years was the engagement that we've had with US Exim Bank out of Washington, DC to fund the development of our project. This is a really important point. So I mentioned you'll need some degree of debt and some amount of equity to build a project. Exim Bank, for those that don't know, is very similar to EKF in Denmark. So it's an export credit agency. They have the ability to lend money for very long periods of time at really low cost of finance. And whilst there's been some restart operations on screen for you today, ours is a complete greenfield. So we have an exploration camp there now, but we need to build effectively a town. We're building a port, an airport, a power grid, and everything that comes with it to run the operation for the next sort of 20 or 30 years. That does impose a really high infrastructure burden, and for any other greenfield project in Greenland, it's likely that they'll run into the same problem. And therefore, the cost of your finance becomes really important to whether or not it's likely to be successful. And I think in our case, Exim, it's something we've been working with them for a couple of years, I believe is an excellent counterparty, not just because they have the ability to issue debt quite cheaply. There's a really important point here. Export credit allows typically a certain amount of funding for local content. So in the case of US Exim Bank, it's 30 cents in the dollar. So they will lend us money to procure content from the US as a first priority. That's their day job. They lend money to companies to buy goods and services. But we'll get 30 cents in the dollar that we can only spend in Greenland and potentially Denmark. No one's actually quite opined on that with absolute authority for me. But this financing route is something that you simply won't get if you go to private credit markets. If I went to Apollo on Wall Street and said, can I borrow $500 million, they're not going to direct me to spending 30 cents in the dollar of that in Greenland. There's relatively limited capital equipment that we can procure, but I've had great meetings this week with major service providers, Air Greenland yesterday, for example. So shipping, air services, drilling, labour hire, running camps, all those types of things. So I would counsel anyone that's looking to build a critical minerals project, and again, most of these things are critical these days. It may feel like what isn't critical if you're not a geologist, but certainly most of the elements in the geology of Greenland are going to fall somewhere in that critical mineral basket. I would direct you to those guys because they have been excellent to deal with. In terms of where we are at, so after the 15 years of work, we're in the sort of the final throes of trying to raise the development capital we need. It's a very large project. If we were operating today, it would be the single largest zinc mine in all of Europe, be the 10th largest zinc mine in the world. There really isn't anything else that's close to the line in Greenland today that is of the same scale globally. There's very few new top 10 mines in the world come online ever, and certainly not from the juniors. So we are staring down the next few months, trying to close off that financing. It will be a really exciting day if we are able to. My aspiration was to get on site next year in earnest and start building things. It's yet to be seen whether that's going to be achievable or not, but it is our aspiration. More important, we do it at some point than fail next year by trying to do it in a rush. So we will see how the timing goes, but it will be a really exciting day. I think it would be of tremendous value in unlocking northern Greenland in particular as an exploration province. We all understand, I think the geology is really, really interesting and really attractive. And if we are able to, open up the region with an airport and a port and a power station and all those types of things, and we can all mobilise equipment and fuel and people, most importantly, to this part of the world, then there will be lots more mines left to come. So that is all I have to say today. Thank you all for listening, and I'll see you later on for a drink.
Thank you very much. Slightless presentation, that's unique these days. Now we're supposed to have a presentation from Tambreeze, but it's a little bit unsure who it is, who should present. So I don't know if there's anyone who wants to speak about the Tambreeze. If not, yeah, okay, that's cancelled. Then that's the next slide. So as I said, please take some lunch with you. Please mingle around, network here. We got some time, get some fresh air, enjoy the sun. And then at 5 o'clock, from 5 to 7, we will have the reception. You can meet all the presenters, all the speakers. You can meet all the representatives from Greenland, and you can get a few drinks. So see you all at 5 o'clock. Thank you very much.